it's a thing that producers are not getting their recognition. It feels like they are being left behind in certain conversations. Things are better now, but it feels like they are getting left behind. It's not the Nigerian reality alone that producers are sort of like the guys at the back. And that should be where it is. But when it comes to Nigeria where producers are not getting their dues, the need for them to be visible and to get their credits becomes more imperative. That's how I say it.
But what do these guys do? Who is a producer?
A music producer is basically not to be mistaken for a beat maker. I mean, these days, all of them are music producers because the art of making a beat can be enough sometimes. But a music producer is someone who has more of a hands-on approach to making the music. They know what it is, they know how to tweak it. They are part of the creative process alongside the artist. When an artist is recording, they can tell him, oh, this is how to attack this, is how to do this, or maybe I think maybe you should do that, or I think this is how to do this. Oh, okay, the artist is done recording. Okay, I think I need to tweak that. You guys see Kanye West whenever he's making an album. Kanye is tweaking an album till 5 minutes to 12. Do you know why? He's a producer. Dr. Dre once made an artist record a verse over 500 times. I mean, 2 bars over 500 times. Do you know why? Because what you are giving me, I'm not getting it. When Kanye was making Stronger off the Graduation album, the drum, dum, 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 dum. Nobody could give him the videos on YouTube. You can find it there. If he invited all the producers in America, the biggest ones, he couldn't find the drums, like the drums that he needed. Until he met Timbaland, and Timbaland played it for him. It's like, that's it. So that the drums you hear on Stronger, that's Timbo. So a producer is different, not just someone that can give you a beat. A beat maker can give you a beat, you can go, but a producer is part of the process. They know what they want, and they know how to make you give it to them. And that's why a lot of them are like A&R. Some of them, like some of the best ones, have gone on to executive produce albums for superstars. That's how it works.
But how are these guys key to the Afrobeats to the world movement?
So you look at it this way. A lot of the Afrobeat superstars that we have, they can sing, but they're not the greatest vocalists. Let me take that again. If you put a lot of our Afrobeat superstars on the spot for them to sing, they might not be able to deliver as much. So that means a lot of them might not be able to deliver a record a cappella like Imogen Heap or Lady Smith Black Mambazo. So, and now that we have beats from like people like DJ YK, Ajimo Voice, or SARS going viral on their own, it means that without beats, where's the artist? Without quality beats, where is the Nigerian artist? Where is the Afrobeats? And these Afrobeats that we're talking about, who are the architects? It's the sound, not exactly the sound birthed what the artists are doing. That has become the culture of Lamba or Shekpeteri 2.0, whatever you want to call it. Like, look at it this way. The era of Afrobeats that we live in is basically birthed of hip-hop and R&B that we then blended. It has a lot of influences. Hip-hop, R&B, sometimes it's Fuji, sometimes it's dancehall, sometimes it's raga, sometimes it's East African music, sometimes it's Makossa. All these things are Afrobeats that I think. It's multi-dimensional. It has a lot of influences. The people that married some of these things together are some of the greatest Nigerian producers of all time. Like, for example, if you listen to Tubaba's sophomore album, Grass to Grace, what's the genre of a record like, for instance? What's the genre? What's the genre, for instance? For instance, what's the genre? Is it a hip-hop record?
No, it's not.
Is it a pop record? But who made that? OJB Jezreel. That's what I'm talking about. Producers are the ones that created this sound that we're talking about. They are the ones that determine the patterns of sound, the soundscape, what is obtainable, the trendy sound, the direction of the sound. Like, for example, Shekpeteri at some point was people from Ajegunle making swore and conto music. A little bit further down the line, you have someone like K-Solo remodeled it for Timaya's True Story. Then a little further down the line, you are seeing what Terry G did with it. Then a little further down the line, you are seeing what people like Rexxie are doing with it now, or Niphkeys. Like Niphkeys is basically putting log drums from Mama Piano on Shekpeteri sounds. That's what he's doing. But is it cool? Are you dancing to it? Absolutely. Absolutely. This is why these guys are so pivotal to the movement. They are the ones that create the patterns that the artists have to jump on. Like a lot of people then tell you that, oh, I prefer lyrics. I prefer lyrics to sound. But are lyrics really subservient to the production in terms of Afrobeats? No, I don't think so. They are not. For example, we enjoy Fino Onye Highway. All the Yoruba people in here, all the non-Igbo people in here, do you understand the word that Fino is saying on that record? No, they don't. Do people outside Yoruba land understand what a word that Naira Marley is saying? No, they don't. Do people outside Nigeria understand half of the things that CK was saying on Love 160? No, they don't. But guess what? The music is traveling, is it not? Why? Because the music, you can understand, you can feel that whatever. I don't know what this guy is saying, but it makes sense. Whatever Focalistic was saying on K-Star, do we understand it? No, we don't. Do you know what fele ran down? Since long on do you know what they were saying? No, you don't. But is it a big record? Yes, it is. The point I'm trying to make is Afrobeats is not exactly about it. Even when you understand the lyrics sometimes, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. When I look into your eyes, all I see is your waist. But do you feel it? You feel her. That's the point. So what I'm trying to say is, when you even look at some of the biggest crews in the history of Nigerian music, all of them have had like a pivotal producer. Kennis Music had OJB Jizra. Mohits had Don Jazzy. Coded Tunes had ID Cabasa. YBNL had Pheelz for the most part, and Young John in part. Now, Marlian Music has Rexxie and Niphkeys, like producers that are key to the success of the movement. That's why producers are so important. You can't take them out of the equation. They are the equation. If it was easy, Nigerian artists should be making a cappella. But guess what? They can't do that. As much as the producer is important, the artist is also important, because what makes a record a hit record, as much as beats can go viral, those beats that go viral are the exception. The marriage of those two things, they are important. So the point I'm trying to make is they're equally as important. But even though the artists are going to get more of the credit, they are going to get more of the visibility, they're going to get celebrated more, the producers are not getting what they deserve. That's how I see it.
Interesting. So these guys put the beats in Afrobeats.
Yeah.
And you're very, very
nice. You try.
And they're very, very influential to the type of music we consume.
Yes.
But why are they so slept on?
They are slept on for a lot of reasons. Look at Nigerian music, for example. Laws are very horrible. Intellectual property laws, they are horrible. They are dated. They are outdated. They don't cater to the need to contemporary needs. That's the fact. So when you look at the history of Nigerian music, where there are no clearly stated laws for a producer for compensation packages for a producer, and then when you look at where producers themselves for a long time, people look at them as people who are basically begging for attention. That's what they are. That's what a lot of people used to see them as. It then snowballed into a cultural issue where a producer thinks that he needs an artist to survive. Yes, he does. Because you are looking at it like the dynamic like this. If I don't work with this artist is going to find another producer to work with. Do you understand? Like, it's like rent in Lagos. If a landlord says, this one-bedroom apartment in Mushin is 1.5 million, it's outrageous. But if you don't pay, I assure you that within 2 days, someone is going to pay for that house. So that's how it is with Nigerian music producers. Oh, the artist wants to work with me. Well, he might not pay me. But the artist is saying, well, if I mention your name on my record, for example, you might blow. But guess what? Even after the producer blows, he's still not making money. But producers have to still hitch their wagon to artists, because that's the only, that they used to think that's the only chance that they have, or that they had. So it became a cultural problem where producers didn't want to, they felt subservient to artists, and artists treated them as such. Does that make sense? Artists treated them like, you need me, I don't really need you. And then even till now, the cultural issue has snowballed into other problems because fans now, they don't want to see producers brag. They don't even want to see songwriters brag because they think, why are you trying to shit on the superstar's success? Why are you trying to, oh, you are gumming your body to the person. Bro, I was part of the creative process. You understand? So the culture of not appreciating people outside, people who contributed to the music, outside the artist, whose face is at the forefront, is a big problem. Now producers are getting paid. Now they understand rights. Now they understand that, oh, I have to sign split sheets. Now they understand that, oh, if I contribute XXS to this, I have to make my money off XXS. But still, they are still not getting the credit they deserve. Afrobeats to the world. Yes, producers are some of them are getting like big bags. Some of them are producing hit records. Chopsticks, for example, it gets a lot of royalties from a lot of records that's producing. For example, these guys just got a platinum pack, Legendary Beats, for a record that he produced for J Balvin and Bad Bunny. Those things are happening. Maybe those are some things. But when it comes to the credit itself, how is it coming? How is it coming? It's not really coming. It's not. And producers deserve to be celebrated as much as the artists. They do.
So you think they should be in the limelight too?
Maybe not in the limelight. The job of a producer is to, like I said the other time, a producer doesn't have to be in the spotlight. Like, you don't need to be. It's not a Nigerian thing alone where producers are not exactly celebrated. Don't get me wrong. It's a global thing. Like, only music nerds see music, right? Like they see an album release and they are looking for, oh man, I like this beat. People like you and I, oh man, who produced this thing? Only music nerds think about that. Most people don't care. Oh, it's Wizkid, Machala, or logo. You understand? Nobody gives a about who the producer is. Most people at least don't. But in the grand scheme of things, if producers were getting their due, it would be fantastic if they were in the background. If they were getting their credits, if they were getting their deals, if they were making their money. For example, in foreign countries, right, there is a clear benefit system for songwriters and producers. As I've said it on this show before. I listened to a podcast, Decoder with the Live Hotel, like last year. You can check my Twitter, I posted it. A guy said if a songwriter makes a top 40 hit on American radio, they are pretty much set to retire for life. And 50 Cent said something. So Shamoni XL produced on 50 Cent's debut album. On his debut album. And was it debut or sophomore? I can't remember. 50 Cent asked Shamoni XL, do you want to get paid up front or do you want to make money off the royalties? Shamoni XL chose to make money up front. But on the royalties, he could have made, I think, X5 the amount that he made. Even though he was healthily paid for the work that he did on the album up front. But if he had chosen to get paid off royalties, bro, he would have been a rich man. But how many producers are rich in Nigeria, even the superstars? If some producers in Nigeria were not in Nigeria, if Nigeria had a clear benefit system for some producers, bro, some of them would be living on Banana Island right now. So in a place like that, it's fantastic if someone like Metro Boomin or Wheezy or London on the Track doesn't want to put their face out there. But guess what? Even in those places, they are putting their faces out there. Do you know why? Because the career of a producer is ephemeral. Only if the producers that last long at the top, they are the exception. Most producers, 3, 4, 5 years, they are done. Even under 3 years, they are still done. Because the sound changes, the trend changes. The artists that you make, they want to change the sound, so they go to other producers. So it's tough to stay at the top for that long. It's very tough. So that's why producers need to put their faces out there. They have to put their brands out there. They have to put themselves out there. Some of them become artists because you need to make money. Generally, the career of a producer can't be ephemeral or transient. Generally, it can be short-lived. That's why producers need to rebrand and become something else. on a good day, I'm not saying that they have to put their faces out there, but if the industry was good, they can be at the back. And some of them are still making money off the royalties for years and years and years. For example, you saw Jimmy Iovine sold his catalog to Hypnosis some years ago. Jimmy Iovine is a producer. He sold his songwriting and production catalog to Hypnosis some months ago. Do you know why? Because there's a clear benefit system. He has rights. But in Nigerian, people have rights. So sometimes they have to put themselves out there. Sometimes the artist has to give them credit. Sometimes that's how they can become better. The artist has to carry their matter on, a producer's matter on their heads. So that the producer can, as part of this Afrobeats, can also benefit. Someone would also want to get on them. Not just because they are signed to Cobalt or whatever, but because you care enough about them. You know that your stardom is going to overshadow theirs. So you need to be able to carry them on their back so that they can have a sustainable career outside you. Some people are doing that already, but it needs to be done better. That's all I'm saying.
So it seems like they're not going to get this credit on the platter.
No.
What do they need to do?
Like I said the other time, number one, I think the artists need to carry the matter on the producer's matter on his head, because you are going to overshadow them regardless. Number two, I think producers also get a team. Look at P Prime, for example. Shout out to P Prime's team. You know his name. If you see P Prime outside, you know who he is. Like after a while, people didn't know SARS. People couldn't recognize SARS for a while. But after I did Beat of Life, what happened? With the video, what happened? And then after a while, when SARS sort of matured, he got the afro, and then when it became a walking test trap, what happened? That's it, bro. That's it. For a long time, people couldn't recognize Pheelz. For a long time. Pheelz had produced like 7 top-class albums by that time. People didn't know who it was. So the point I'm trying to make is, put yourself out there. The face, you don't know what your face is. The moment people can recognize you, it opens a lot of doors for you. I think the producers need to start rethinking. They need to start thinking about branding.
But who would you put on your list of the greatest?
Who? Nigerian producers of all time?
Yeah, of all time.
Greatest Nigerian producers since 99. 99 is basically the turning point of Afrobeats, or the era where everything sort of changed. So, metrics I'm going to use, longevity and consistency at the top, like success over an extended period of time. Number two, I'm going to look at the impact in terms of like the hits they made, how they impacted and changed the soundscape. Number three, I'm going to look at the bodies of work that they produce as an added advantage, because who is a great producer without producing a full-length body of work, or 70% of a full-length body of work? And then finally, I'm going to look at their legacy. So number one, I'm going to go for Nelson Brown. This is not ranked, but I'm going to go for Nelson Brown, because Nelson Brown at the start of this journey was amazing. It was incredible. I don't think people sort of understand who he is. If I'm going to go a little bit backward, I'm going to say maybe Omololu. Omololu was huge, but after like Tetula's sophomore album, I think Paul Play produced Tetula's first album, Morning Time. After Tetula's sophomore album, his run wasn't as sustained. So instead of Omololu, I'm going to go for OJB Jezero, legacy. Producer of producers, legacy. Like someone who made people, who made careers, who was key to the success of an entire label. OJB Jezero, one of the greatest of all time. And in terms of like sound, and knowing how to switch sound and impacting the soundscape. So a little further down, I'm going to mention ID Cabasa. A lot of people tend to forget him, but because after Nice sort of slowed down, he sort of slowed down with Nice. But ID Cabasa was huge. You guys know, ID Cabasa signed Olamide. The first, Olamide, Kayefi, and Seriki were part of like the rebrand of Coded Tunes. So ID Cabasa, please don't play with ID Cabasa. Then Mastercraft has been here for over 10 years. People need to put some respect on his name. People forget who he is. He might not have produced a lot of albums, but he's been here for too long for his name not to be in this conversation. So Mastercraft must be in that conversation. Then, in my stretch of like the top 3, when you look at what they've done, the impact that they've had, the success that they've had, where they've had the successes, the top 3 will probably be somewhere between SARS, Pheelz, and Don Jazzy. Number 1, I'm going to reserve it for Don Jazzy, because That's basically the most important Nigerian producer over the past 23 years, basically. So number 2, you probably go for Pheelz maybe, because a lot of people are going to argue that Pheelz is not, his production, his catalog is not as diverse, but that's not true. Over the past 3-4 years, it's diversified. Like, produced for Tenny, produced for Diary, he produced High last year. Like, Pheelz is it. So Don Jazzy is basically the architect of, not the actor, a major proponent, a huge proponent, because when we are talking about the albums that changed the pace, it's 5 albums. Timaya's True Story, Nice's Gongwaso, Wandeko's Mission to Mohits, the band's The Entertainer, and sometimes people are going to say Olumente's album, maybe, yeah, but those albums were very, very incredible. They were very pivotal to the sound, to the switch of the sound. So Don Jazzy produced 2 of those albums. So you can't not put Don Jazzy in this conversation. So it has to be Don Jazzy all the way. If you have a problem with the list, you guys can hit me up in the comment section. As for the new guys that we're looking at, the ones that could go potentially into like greatness, Rexxie is gearing up to go there. Someone like Zaki Amuje, even though he hasn't produced a lot of albums yet, is looking to go in there as well. Then, but the biggest guy that I think in 10 years we are going to be putting in this conversation of GOAT conversation is P Prime. We are going to put P Prime in those conversations because already the guy has produced Carpe Diem. He produced 70% of Carpe Diem. So yes, we are going to put him in those conversations, and those facts only.